An emotion unto itself cannot exist on its own, as in a feeling, an emotion cannot exist in a vacuum. Circumstances don't make you feel anything. It's actually quite the opposite. Anytime that you feel any kind of emotion, especially the ones that you do not prefer, the objectively that you do not prefer, are being generated by belief systems and definitions that you are attaching to particular circumstances, and especially your relation to those circumstances. The reason why this is so powerful is because this can allow you to dissect and understand not only other people's behaviors and actions, but also the thoughts and actions and behaviors that you conduct within your life for yourself. I'm going to give a very clear-cut example to illustrate the point that I'm attempting to make here. Let's say that you and I are in a direct interaction of some kind, and I look you dead in the eyes and I say, you are fermentage. I don't even know what the hell that means. I just made it up. And then I asked you immediately, what is your immediate reaction to me telling that to your face? You're probably going to be confused, as it doesn't mean much to you because you don't have a definition for that term. So you don't really have any kind of way to feel about it since you don't have a definition attached to it. Now let's take that same exact interaction and I replace the term that I just made up with, you are stupid. Immediately, that might have invoked an instant reaction of being put off, being kind of offended, because in your mind, subconsciously or otherwise, you have a connotation attached to that term of being stupid, as in it's condescending, it's bad, it's not smart, it's no good. No, 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 no. So what this means is anytime you observe behavior or actions exhibited by other people that are deemed to be negative, or anytime you are thinking thoughts that, why am I having these thoughts of self-deprecation, or why am I self-sabotaging, or why am I feeling these emotions of shame, unworthiness, of anger, of sadness, whatever it may be, emotions that you objectively don't prefer because they are not your true self. Anything that isn't in the league of joy, ecstasy, worthiness, confidence in yourself is really not your true self. These are learned beliefs that you picked up at some point in your life, likely when you were a child and you consciously forgot the memory, but yet subconsciously are still buying into what those memories represent. For example, if a child is 6 years of age, they go to summer camp, and let's say that summer camp has, a counselor with issues, and that counselor emotionally abuses the 6-year-old child, tells them you're stupid, you're not enough, all like that sort of thing. That child may then go on to grow up and consciously forget about those interactions, but subconsciously might still be believing all those things that they heard that were put onto them as implicitly true. And that is the case for many people, including myself, as I've gone through an interesting hermit phase of really looking within myself and realizing I'm holding on to so much baggage that has nothing to do with me. Like, these are things that I bought into as a young child from, different periods of emotional abuse in school or whatnot. Even when our parents unintentionally and unconsciously pass their own trauma down to us from their abusive parents that hit them or that yell at them, they pass it down to us unconsciously when we trigger them, when we draw on the wall and they call us stupid, why did you draw on the wall, that sort of thing. We buy into those as a child because we get told, you're stupid, you're not enough, why did you do that? And although we consciously forget those memories, if we don't process those events and understand that they're not actually reflective of who we are, we're going to hold on to them without even realizing. So everybody that you see around you in your day-to-day life, if they're exhibiting any kind of behavior that you deem to be objectively negative, that is because they are holding on to baggages that doesn't belong to them. And so that is an opportunity to have compassion for other people, even if it's anything from narcissism to self-deprecation and anything in between the negative spectrum of shame, unworthiness, fear, judgment, and all those sorts of things, because none of those aspects of us really belong to us. These are learned behaviors that we picked up at some point in our life, and we were taught that that's the way that we are. So the question is, why would I buy into a belief that I'm not worthy? Why would I buy into a belief that I'm stupid, I'm any of these things? If you have that understanding that any emotion that you have, any thoughts, because actions are the effect of emotions, which are the effect of the beliefs. So if you are doing a certain action, if you see someone doing a certain action that is negative, right? Let's say someone verbally bullies someone else, or let's say someone physically attacks someone else. All that's doing, or all that's really displaying, is them crying out for help and lashing out at the world because they don't know how to connect within themselves to get what they need, essentially. Now, this has nothing to do with condoning people, going out and assaulting others. I'm not saying anything like that. What I'm simply saying is understanding these things from a higher point of view in order to have compassion so that you can lead by example and actually live your life with unconditional love and uplift all the people around you that you encounter in your day-to-day life to contribute to the uplifting of humanity and our collective consciousness and the shifting of this age of Aquarius, this mass awakening, this second coming of the Christ consciousness within each and every one of us. When you understand that anything that comes at you from the outside reflection, right? It's not really outside, but from the outside, then you have that understanding in order to essentially be bulletproof. Because anytime somebody judges you in that sense, anytime someone offers you that negative offering, like, here you go, you're weird, you're cringe, like, here you go, right? You can just see that as an offering and say, that's not really me. Like, I know who I am. Oh, I see. I can have the compassion and my eyes can be open wide enough to see that when you're talking about judgment and you're talking about that I should be this and I should be that, what you're actually saying or what you're actually doing is wagging your finger at yourself because you resent yourself for all those things. You can just objectively understand it from that point of view and simply see it that way, and it won't have really any effect on you because you won't actually be buying into whatever the other people are telling you as true. You're not buying into it. One of my favorite ascended masters to study in history is actually Jesus, or Yeshua in his language of Aramaic, because he had basically a full understanding of this to complete conviction, complete knowingness. Even to the point where he was getting nailed to a cross, he stated, "Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing." Because how I imagine that he was seeing that circumstance from his point of view, even as he was being physically restrained onto a cross and tortured to death before his resurrection, he likely saw all the Romans and all the people around him that were tormenting him and torturing him as children that are lashing out of fear because they had no idea what the hell they were doing. That's why he said, "Oh, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." So he saw the hurt child within them that then allowed him to have even the most unconditional compassion while being tortured to death. Despite the fact that we have that potential to be Christ-like and to be Buddha-like, like these ascended masters, many of us are on different paths and are going through different processes to get to that point, but we're not going to be like that for some time. So the point is to use those people as examples on really how to live your own life. The teachings all kind of blend together. Unconditionally forgive, unconditionally love, and just understand that emotions come from beliefs about yourself, beliefs tied to your self-concept, to specific scenarios, specific situations. That's all it is. It's definition. So when you see someone lashing out, acting out, being a narcissist, anything like that, it's because they're in pain, basically. They don't feel connected, and the only way they can imagine feeling that connection, feeling love, feeling worthiness is perhaps dragging other people down with them, harming other people. You know what they say, misery loves company. And so next time you go about your day-to-day life and you come across someone that triggers you, understand they are not really triggering you themselves. What they are doing is allowing you the opportunity to see something within you that wasn't brought to your attention. That's all. So next time someone pesters you, annoys you, makes you feel any kind of way, take back your power and understand that you need to take responsibility for your state, and nobody can really piss you off because you're in control of your state at every moment. Anytime somebody pisses you off or frustrates you, you're giving into their definitions about you, even though they don't know anything about you, because they can't possibly know anything about you in the way that allows them to judge you, because that's not possible. They don't know your life like that. Even you don't really know yourself like that, because we're all on this path of discovering who we really are, since we don't really know who we are 100%, right? Your name isn't who you are. That was something that was given to you at birth. Your religion, your ethnicity, those things are aspects about your person, but it's not really who you are innately, fundamentally. So again, I reiterate, this has nothing to do with the condoning or excusing of perpetration. It's the understanding that anyone that perpetrates is a victim of themselves, because it does take a victim to make a victim. Humanity, ourselves, are really this cyclical passed down trauma cycle that we are now at the precipice of potentially breaking out of. Not even 8 decades ago, 90 million humans died. Like a lot of us just got killed very recently. Humans harming each other is not a normal thing. People have this preconceived notion that we're naturally violent. That's not true at all. That's in fact, if there's anything that's innate, it is empathy, because we're all not just the same one being, we're all the same one consciousness, which I go over on the 3rd episode of my podcast. But understanding that oneness of all of our being should actually exude compassion and empathy among us all. If it doesn't, it's because we're resisting the idea that we are all one. That should point to you that next step in your process of figuring out what within you are you holding on to that doesn't serve you anymore, to hold on to that kind of resentment that you build up to treat people any kind of way. If you truly understood your divine nature, you would be unbothered by basically everything. Like nothing would really get to you, since you know that this is all temporary. You know that this is all an illusion. I go over all of those things, again, in my 3rd episode of my podcast. So understanding this for yourself is so powerful, because then you can go through and walk through your life not being dragged into, or allowing yourself to be dragged into, any kind of scenarios or circumstances that you would have otherwise not been dragged into. Let's say you're walking down the street and someone taunts you. Some people would dead ass engage in that and then start a fight and then potentially land themselves 20 years in prison over some test to your ego, when you can just walk away. Like, who cares? There's many different permission slips to allow yourself to actually be in that state. For example, if you need to be the adult in a dynamic, then do so. If someone is acting childish, as in like an immature child would, like a 6-year-old child, just because they're in an adult body does not mean they're not still a child. We're all children in some aspect, one way or another. I consider myself to be a child, and I would never seek to be anything else. I love being a child and childlike. I love being curious. I love being full of joy, full of ecstasy, intrigue. Those are the aspects of being a child that I completely cherish. Just like Michael Jackson, honestly. And so if you ever find yourself in an interaction with someone that's acting childish, not childlike, there's a difference, immature, throwing a tantrum, judging you, narcissism, anything like that, you can elevate yourself, not in a condescending way, but elevate yourself to the adult in the interaction and see them for the child that they are and treat them as such. Not talking down to them, but having that compassion. Seeing them as a hurt child that never really grew up in the ways that they needed to, because you don't know what happened to them as they grew up. Like I said, we're all reflections for each other, because we don't really know what each other's life paths are, what we've been through, anything like that. Somebody could have had the most horrific, somebody could have seen their parents, commit suicide, and you would never know. Yet if they exemplified behavior that represented that trauma of seeing something horrific like that as a child, you would not know any better. So it's always best to really just treat everybody with that unconditional acceptance, or unconditional love, same thing, same difference, and live your life that way. Don't allow anything to get to you, because nothing can get to you without your permission. Having that belief that somebody can affect you means you are giving your power away willingly, whether you realize it or not. So take your power back. Understand that you're already worthy. You're here as a consciousness. You exist. You're a being. You don't have anything to prove to anybody. Live your life. Act on your passions. Act on your joy. Act on your bliss. Be pure-hearted. Your life will be drastically different. I'm telling you. Just try it out and make sure you hold yourself accountable. Anytime you catch yourself judging or being of negative state yourself, pause and take a moment and really do some self-reflecting. Don't ever be scared or fearful of delving within yourself, because there's nothing that you're going to find within yourself that you won't like if you truly look within. I guarantee you. I've been through I've been through a lot of the ups and downs. I'm not going to say like I'm, 7 years old and I fought in Vietnam, but I've been there, man. I've been rock bottom on so many different fronts. So you can take my word for it, or you can go through a long and windy process full of suffering and all that to eventually get to the same conclusion that I'm telling you. So take this to heart. You're already worthy. You're worthy of love. You're worthy of all the things you could ever desire that would bring you all the joy and love and ecstasy that this world can possibly offer. So just know that for a fact for yourself. Take it to heart for yourself. Even if someone else reflects not that, you can know that they don't know what they're talking about, because they probably don't know that they're loved and they're worthy enough. Otherwise, they wouldn't be reflecting anything negative to you if they weren't victims of some kind of trauma of any kind themselves. And so, take it to heart. This wasn't really a full podcast episode. This is just a quick video I wanted to make to help out anybody that's going through a process of rock bottom sort of place. Because, like I said, I've been through all sorts of... Yeah. You can follow all the socials down below. TikTok, Instagram. It's Remembering Forward on everything. I am building this platform up to really assist humanity in remembering who we are so we can move forward with that. Therefore, Remembering Forward. That's the play on words for the platform. And so you can follow me on all those platforms, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Shoot me a message if you have any questions, if you have any discussions, if you have any ideas on videos you'd like me to make or make any topics you'd like me to make a video on. I'm open to anything. I'm really here to just serve the people, because I really get a lot of fulfillment and joy out of doing this, out of allowing people to understand the gifts that they have truly if they actually took the courage to look within themselves, because it's all you're going to find within yourselves. Gifts, beauty, brilliance, and infinite wisdom within yourself. You need to look within, because that's where all the answers lie. Anyway, I'll let you go now. I very much appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe, follow along the tribe. Much love. Take care.